Hello friends, as promised, I am back with the second part of my Krasnodar exploration. Let's pick up where we left off on Krasnaya Street. First, I'd like to tell you about an interesting building, the former Sarantidi music store. On the ground floor, you could buy musical instruments and sheet music. On top, there were decent rooms and apartments for rent. The house was built by merchants Polyakov in 1909. Next door to the former Hrustalyova Gymnasium, I noticed something peculiar. The city authorities seem to have neglected their own history. Right next to the gymnasium, there is an eclectic building with Baroque elements. It's a hidden gem that few people know about. This is an apartment house of the Krasnodar merchant, former Cossack Ignaty Horozhenko, built in 1889. It's a brick two-story residential building with a through passage in the central part, which used to have retail premises. The ground floor has two trading halls with street entrances, while the second floor has residential premises with a suite layout. Unfortunately, there is hardly any historical information about Ignaty Horozhenko, the former owner of the house. During the Soviet years, the building became a communal apartment, and now it's in a state of disrepair. It seems that two families live on the upper floors, while the fate of the first floors remain uncertain. The city authorities have ignored numerous requests for restoration and renovation of this historical building. We can only hope that the mansion still has a future, but for now, it's quietly living out its long life. Following the somber mansion of Horozhenko, there stands another mansion, the house of merchant Kuptsov. This brick building exudes the typical eclecticism of the era, and Kuptsov was more fortunate than his neighbor. In 2022, it underwent a meticulous restoration and was recognized as an architectural gem of the 19th century. Opposite Kuptsov's mansion lies another historical landmark, the former steam factory for dry cleaning and dyeing clothes. Constructed at the cusp of the 19th and 20th centuries, this building initially served as an apartment complex with its spacious areas rented out to shops and housing units. The factory, aptly named Nulius, opened its doors here in 1912. These buildings, like Kuptsov's mansion, have undergone restoration efforts by their owners and local authorities, bringing them back to their former glory. Next, at the intersection of Krasnaya and Dmitrievskaya streets, stands the former shoe store of Ilarion Kotlyarov, built in 1901 by the owner of the renowned Krasnodar shoe factory. This elegant structure boasts stucco ornamentation adorning its corners, an elegant quadrangular turret covered in a scaly roof, and a striking metal weather vane. This weather vane, designed to turn at the slightest breeze, will turn a long arrow towards the horizon, captivating the attention of passers-by. After the passing of the owner in 1908, his family continued his business. However, with the advent of the Soviet power, the store closed down and was transformed into a pharmacy. Today, this building stands as a protected landmark. As I continued my stroll along Krasnaya Street, I stumbled upon another iconic sculpture that has become synonymous with Krasnodar. This magnificent creation was inspired by the renowned painting by the great Russian artist Ilya Repin, titled "The Cossacks Write a Letter to the Turkish Sultan." You ask about the connection between Krasnodar and Repin's painting, and I'll share some insights. In 1888, Repin visited Kuban to find vivid images for his future painting. After Catherine the Great expelled the Zaporozhian troops, many of their participants found refuge in these regions. Only honored Cossacks were chosen to pose for the artist, some of whom were even awarded the St. George Cross, inspired by Repin's painting of the same name. This sculpture was unveiled to commemorate the 120th anniversary of Repin's stay in Kuban. After a few blocks, I arrived at the building of the Women's City School. Apparently, it had recently undergone restoration, and it had a dilapidated appearance a few years ago. The Women's City School was constructed in Yekaterinodar around the late 1890s or early 1900s. Initially, it was a single-story building. The school was named after the renowned poet Taras Shevchenko upon its opening in 1901. After the establishment of the Soviet rule in the city, the school was discontinued and the building was transferred to the city hospital. Subsequently, school number 37 occupied the premises of the former women's college. During the reconstruction process, the building changed hands due to its poor condition, leading to plans for its demolition. However, the building was saved by its status as an architectural monument. Crossing the road, I found myself at the walls of the City Clinical Hospital No. 1, formerly known as the Military Arms House. It can be considered as one of the oldest buildings in Krasnodar, as it was constructed before Yekaterinodar transformed from a military to a civilian city. The construction of a two-story hospital building with a church and a chapel in the center commenced in 1836 under the leadership of Ensign Poroshenko. In 1842, the Almshouse Hospital welcomed its first patients. Today, the site of the former military almshouse houses the complex of buildings of the City Clinical Hospital No. 1 in Krasnodar. The hospital's origins are deeply intertwined with the name of Alexei Beskrovny, the punished ataman of the Kuban Cossack army and a hero of the Patriotic War of 1812. He left behind a substantial fortune to establish an almshouse for elderly Cossacks and a church dedicated to the Mother of God of all sorrowful joy. The first stone church of the icon of the Mother of God of all sorrows still stands within the hospital complex. Like the almshouse, it is considered one of the oldest buildings in Yekaterinodar. What sets this church apart is its unique frescoes adorning the walls and ceilings. These frescoes are said to depict scenes of hell and human sins. While I am not an expert in frescoes, I did not seek further confirmation and decided to explore the subject further. In the heart of Krasnaya Street, within the pedestrian zone, lies a significant monument, the Obelisk, 200 years of Kuban Cossacks. This monument is an exact replica of the one erected in Yekaterinodar in 1897 and tragically destroyed during the Soviet era in the 1930s. The restored monument was unveiled in 1999 in its original location, which was once an urban suburb but has since become the intersection of Krasnaya and Budyonny streets in the center of Krasnodar. Alexandrovsky Boulevard originates from this point, stretching for several kilometers before reaching Officer Street. The history of the Kuban Cossacks dates back to 1696, although their ancestors had settled in Kuban region much later, approximately 125 years prior. Cast iron boards bearing brief historical accounts of the Cossacks are affixed to the four sides of the obelisk. The most challenging aspect was the casting of the words from the cast iron, ensuring that each letter's outline precisely matched the original version. The decorative elements incorporate monograms, bas-reliefs, heraldic symbols, and monograms of Russian monarchs such as Peter I, Catherine II, and Nicholas II. The obelisk is encircled by a ribbon displaying the dates 1696 to 1896. Adjacent to the obelisk on the city's main square lies a captivating singing fountain. On one side of the fountain stands the city administration, while the other stands the Krasnodar Academic Drama Theatre, aptly named after the renowned writer Gorky. The theatre was established on April 29, 1920, and initially bore the name Winter Theatre. The drama theatre in Krasnodar was initiated by Soviet writers Samuel Yakovlevich Marshak and Dmitriev Andreevich Furmanov. Vsevolod Emilievich Melhold, a renowned director of the early Soviet period, made a significant contribution to its creation. The newly formed creative team premiered its first theatrical season with the play Petite Bourgeoisie, based on Maxim Gorky's work. In 1932, the theater was named after the great Russian writer Maxim Gorky, a name it still bears today. During the Great Patriotic War, when Krasnodar was occupied by the German troops, the theater troupe evacuated to Sochi. After the liberation of Krasnodar, it was discovered that the theater building had been destroyed by retreating fascists. The restoration process took nearly 10 years. In 1973, the theater celebrated a housewarming party in a new building on October Revolution Square. In 1996, the theater was honored with a prestigious title of academic. As I continued my journey on Krasnaya Street, I encountered local merchants who sold small souvenirs featuring the city's symbols. Skipping a few blocks of Krasnaya Street, I found myself at the building of the Kuban Polytechnic University. A monument to the fallen students and teachers stood next to the university building. The monument, titled "For the Sake of Life on Earth," was unveiled on May 31, 1986. It depicts a Soviet soldier in standard summer field uniform, complete with a helmet, raincoat, and a Pepesha 41 in his right hand. He stands warily, guarding a little girl, drawing the sun with chalk. The monument's creators include architect Alexander Zholtikov, sculptors Alexander Kibalnikov, and Viktor Protkov. 6 busts unveiled on May 8, 2020 commemorates 3 teachers and 3 students of Kuban State Technological University who were posthumously awarded the title of Heroes of the Soviet Union for their heroic actions during the Great Patriotic War. These individuals include Yevgeny Ignatov, a partisan detachment member, Vladimir Kozlov, an attack aircraft pilot, Ivan Razin, a military pilot, Mikhail Sorokin, a sapper, Vsevolod Golubkov, a gunner, and Nikolai Shelkovnikov, the platoon commander of the separate motorized pontoon bridge battalion of the 6th Army of the Central Front. During the Great Patriotic War, many teachers and students of Kuban State Technological University, established in 1918, bravely served on the front lines. The university was evacuated to Uzbekistan, and its laboratories played a crucial role in developing ammunitions and later medicines. In 2021, a monument of Boris Rosin, the inventor of television and the first dean of the educational institution, was erected near the university's walls. He, the physicist, invented the first mechanism for reproducing television images, leading to his worldwide fame. In 1917, he relocated to Ekaterinodar, where he established the first higher education institution in the Kuban and the Northern Caucasus, which stands now before me. Rosin also became the university's first rector. Interestingly, the teachers of the Kuban University played a significant role in the development of Russian winemaking. They are credited with introducing the country's renowned Soviet champagne. Another monument honors the great Russian scientist Mikhail Vasilievich Lomonosov. It was unveiled in 2011, 10 years after the monument dedicated to the university's founder. While Lomonosov is not directly associated with Kuban University, students affectionately refer to it as Lomonosov University, likely a reference to the renowned Moscow State University. Across the street from the university, there is an intriguing monument depicting Shurik and Lidochka from the famous Soviet film Operation E. The sculpture captures a scene from the movie, which was filmed in Moscow and Odessa. So why is there a monument in Krasnodar? The governor of Krasnodar had a monument installed on Krasnaya Street, opposite the Kuban State Technological University. He wanted to create a symbol for students and a place where people could take pictures and reminisce about their student years. The monument, unveiled in May 2012, commemorates the 75th anniversary of Alexander Demyanenko's birth, the actor who famously portrayed a carefree student in the movie Lidochka. Today, the monument stands as a landmark in Krasnodar, attracting tourists who take selfies and souvenirs. Moving on to another iconic landmark in Krasnodar, I visited the Triumphal Arch, Tsarsky Varota. This Russian-style monument is located at the intersection of Krasnaya and Babushkina streets. Erected in 1888, it was built to welcome the Emperor Alexander III and his family during their visit to Ekaterinodar. The arch features a central span and two side spans for pedestrians. The side abutments of the central arch are adorned with 4 tent spires, each crowned with a gilded double-headed eagle, a symbol of the Russian Empire. Large kokoshniks, adorned with icons and lamps, stands on both sides of the central arch. On the eastern side, facing the station, the image of Prince Alexander Nevsky, the patron saint of the Russian army and the Russian army, is depicted. However, the arch's history took a tragic turn in 1928 when it was demolished. The official reason for its destruction was that it obstructed tram traffic. In 2007, the Krasnodar City Duma adopted the restoration of historical monuments of the city of Ekaterinodar Krasnodar target program. The Alexander Triumphal Arch was among the objects slated for restoration. Architect Sergei Snisarenko led the restoration project, and the restored arch was unveiled in a new location in 2008. Nearby, there is another intriguing object, an unusual water tower that serves as a symbol of the city. Built in 1935 according to Shuhov's design, the steel open-work hyperboloid structure stands at a height of 25 meters. It holds federal significance as a cultural heritage object and is surrounded by the shopping center's walls on 3 sides. I concluded my exploration of Krasnodar's historical center and its attractions and headed to a relatively new landmark. This park, officially known as Galitsky Park, is a place that only the most lax-minded locals didn't mention. It was unveiled in 2017 on the former site of the flower market and agricultural fields. From the moment I arrived in Krasnodar, everyone raved about this park. In fact, several commenters on the first part of my Krasnodar travelogue expressed concern that I hadn't mentioned it. Well, my friends, I'm getting better at this. This park is truly magnificent and is challenging to capture its beauty in a video. Every detail is meticulously thought out. Despite the absence of any restrictions, visitors can stroll, sit, or even lie on the immaculate lawns. There are no sharp corners or awkward transitions. The parts flow seamlessly into one another, creating a smooth and inviting landscape. Entertainment for all ages and tastes is provided throughout the park. The meticulously planted young trees, sourced from various parts of the world, hints at the park's bright future. What truly captivates me is the fact that this park, which has received international acclaim, holds immense love and has become a symbol of the city, was made possible by a single individual, Sergei Galitsky, a prominent businessman who once owned a large supermarket chain and now serves as the founder of the Krasnodar Football Club and the Football Academy, where talented athletes receive free training. Single-handedly built a state-of-the-art stadium with a seating capacity of 35,000. Unofficial estimates suggest that the construction of the park alone cost the businessman a staggering 4 billion rubles. I had no prior knowledge of this man, but after listening to the warmly spoken praises of the locals, I was genuinely surprised. Usually, ordinary people are skeptical of the owners of personal jets and yachts worth millions of dollars, but this case is different. This reminded me of the pre-revolutionary Russian era, when such stories about patrons were not uncommon. Tretyakov, Morozov, Mamontov, Bakhrushin, and many others were wealthy and successful individuals who generously shared their wealth with the society, leaving a lasting impact on history and creating a positive legacy. I hope this park preserves the name of its founder and maintains its perfect futuristic appearance. I will definitely return next time, as the park is still expanding and a new location will open next year. I didn't even explore the Japanese garden or the evening park with its unique lighting zones, so it's definitely worth revisiting. And if fate intervenes and you find yourself in Krasnodar, make sure to visit Galitsky Park, you won't regret it. At the end of my walk, I encountered a beautiful couple who had chosen this park to celebrate their most significant day. I believe I understand why. The couple was kind enough to allow me to take pictures of them, which I'm sharing with you now. On this romantic note, I extend my heartfelt wishes to the newlyweds for a lifetime of happiness. As I bid welfare to my friends, I must remind you that the journey doesn't end here. I have more exciting walks planned for you, so please don't hesitate to like this video and share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe as well. I would be delighted to have each of you as part of my community. See you soon, friends. Goodbye.